What is impossible? For me to sit before you today, it took one sperm out of thousands to fertilize an egg inside a human being and create life. Then 9 months later, I was born. If you didn't know the process of human reproduction, would that not seem impossible? Therefore, I ask you, if I'm possible, what is impossible? And then I implore you to look at that word impossible differently. I need you to take the I and the M, create a space between them and put an apostrophe. Then separate the M and the P. Then you have impossible. Because our life is what we see it as. And if you see impossible, that's what you'll live. But if you see I'm possible, that's what you'll live.
Welcome to another episode of Dreams Made Possible, where we share Life 101 conversations for a great life. Before we go any further in this conversation, please click on the link below so that we can build a community of dreamers. As we always do on this podcast, our mission is only one: to cultivate personal mastery and self-worth in others. And we do that by inviting guests who are going to share their life stories so that you are able to craft your own journey out of their stories. And today's guest is Palesa Mosiea. She is a speaker, an entrepreneur, as well as a wellness coach. We are not reading her obituary. She's here to tell us more about herself. Welcome, Palesa. And it's an honor to have you.
Oh, it's an honor to be here. Thank you for the invitation. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. So usually when we start here on Dreams Made Possible, we say we build a foundation. Okay. And the foundation is about who is Palesa? Where is Palesa from? So that we can know the person behind what we're going to hear today.
Okay, so you've mentioned three things that I do. I think you said motivational speaker, entrepreneur, and wellness coach, right?
Correct.
But I'm also an actor, and by some weird twist of fate, I found myself in modeling as well, which is very incredible after having a child. But let's start. Where did it all begin? I grew up in a place called Qwaqwa in the Eastern Free State. It's very cold there. The community is amazing. I went to school there, and then I went to high school in a place called Harrismith, also in the Eastern Free State. A lot of people assume that it's in KZN, but it's actually not. Even colder than Qwaqwa. And then from there, I went to study international communications and marketing at the Tshwane University of Technology. Once I was done with that, I worked for the Association for Office Professionals of South Africa, where I did my internship to complete my qualification. And then I was headhunted by Rob's Promotions, which was an international boxing promoting company based in Bloemfontein. And I got to manage some of the best boxers in this country, which was incredible, you know. They headhunted me to do PR and media. And within 6 months, I was promoted to general manager. So I was that woman running a boxing promoting company. Yes. Amazing experience. Wouldn't trade it for anything. After that, I then went into business. I started my first business, which was doing industrial cleaning and property management. Okay. And from then on, I moved on to a clothing manufacturing business back home to Qwaqwa in the Free State. Yeah. And once that, while I was there, the HOD of the Department of Economic Development headhunted me to come and do stakeholder management and help them in the development of cooperatives in the Free State. So then I did that. When I was done with that, I went back into business, and the last corporate job that I had, I was Director of Communications and Quality Management at Rob's Investment Holdings.
Wow, that's a mouthful. That's a mouthful.
It's a lot.
I must say. And let's just go a little bit and say, how was it growing in your family? Just give us just a high level of your family. Did you grow with both your parents? Do you have siblings? How was it like growing in that family?
I grew up with my grandmother raised me. My grandmother and my aunt. So my aunt is like my mother. My parents, my mom was a professional nurse. She recently retired. And my father, who's late, he died when I was 6, was a teacher, right? and an academic of note. I remember he was due to graduate and get his master's the year after his passing. But they loved me a lot, but they didn't raise me. I was raised by my grandmother, which is a typical South African story, right?
Yes.
So they were in Joburg. I was in the Free State. And my aunt quickly became the mother to me. My grandmother passed away. I think I was in my teens when my grandmother passed away. So then my aunt, later on in life, got married to a gentleman called Mohlowa Sewe, better known as Blakey Sewe.
Okay.
And he then became my second father. So I always tell the story to say I have been so fortunate to have had 4 sets of parents, no divorce.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So yeah, that was my upbringing. My family was incredibly supportive. As you can tell, I was born different. I was born with a condition called albinism, which made life very difficult outside of the home.
Yes.
But inside the house, I was, very happy. I felt like any normal child. The only thing was I did have a visual impediment, which I still have. It's called nystagmus. Okay. It's an involuntary movement of the eye that causes short sight.
All right.
So I could, like when we were watching TV, I would sit closer to the TV than the other kids. Sometimes they would have to watch around me, you know. But it was a really great upbringing, besides the discrimination that I faced from society for being different.
Okay. Let's maybe dive into exactly that. You were born with a condition, albinism, and I can submit that I think most people are not, if you like, educated about what albinism is. And there's a psychosocial issue around it, which leads to discrimination, as you say.
Yeah.
And then it creates this adversity around you. Would you mind just to share with us, when you say it was difficult, what are some of those difficulties? And maybe before you give the response, I'm one of the people who like to say children are mean. You know, you go into a school environment and you ask yourself, where does this junior devil comes from?
Yeah.
What were some of your experiences and how did you overcome them?
Well, you know, the difficulty with albinism is a lot of people, like you said, are not educated on it. So some people, when I was on the school bus, they think I was contagious. So they thought if they sat next to me, the skin would rub off on them and then suddenly they'll look like me. Some people ran away from me. There was something that parents used to do that then kids did. So they would pull whatever they're wearing and spit in it because it was believed that if you do that, you avoid the curse. And the curse would be having a child with albinism. It made life very difficult. But like I said, I had a very supportive family. So I would get on the bus with a book and I would read novels to sort of escape from this life where nobody wants to sit next to you. Sometimes people don't want to talk to you. People don't want to touch you. People don't want you to touch them, you know. But slowly but surely, people got used to me and it got better. And then at school, you know, sometimes the teachers don't understand why you can't see on the board. And they carry on with their lesson. But I was fortunate because my family was very open about my condition. So I had teachers that once they understood, they would make bigger notes for me. They would put me in the front. They would check up on me to see if everything is okay every now and then. But I've always been resilient. So even when they didn't know what to do, I would copy off of the next person. I always found a way to cope because I've always believed that it is our choices, not our circumstances, that determine our outcome. And then, you know, in high school, in primary school, that's where I found my voice because I was discriminated against by the black kids and by the white kids. And I went to a multiracial school. So one day we were going to assembly. Our school used to have these wooden houses, right? Those were the classrooms. Yes. And every Monday, every class would walk to assembly. So one class after the other. So it was this long queue going to assembly. And when we were going to assembly, a group of black kids started making fun of me. This was the turning point in my life. I was in standard 1, it's grade 3 now. Now I'm giving away my age. But in any case, a group of black girls start making fun of me. I start to cry, obviously. And one of the teachers pulls me out of the queue and she says, "Why are you crying?" And I said, they're calling me an albino. She said something so profound, but so hurtful at the time. She said, why would you cry when they call you what you are?
Wow.
Now I'm in grade 3. I don't have the tools to process that. All I see is the teacher being on their side and doing exactly what they're doing to me. I was in boarding school at the time.
Yes.
So I went back to boarding school and I cried for a while. And then I went to bed still crying, but I woke up the next morning. So when I cry, my eyes swell. They become really big. So when I woke up the next morning, my eyes were huge. And I remember I was washing my face and I said to myself, this crying thing doesn't work. I'm bullied 2 to 3 times a week, and every time I cry, and it doesn't help. I always cry, it doesn't help. Let me try something different. So I knew it was going to happen. This time I was expecting it. It happened in the middle of the week. I don't remember exactly which day. This time it was a group of white girls during break time as we were playing on the jungle gym. So I get off and I go to the leader of the pack, because when there's a group of bullies, there's always the leader, right? Yes. So I go directly to her and I said, what's your problem? Remember, she was white. So I say to her, I have your skin. And pointing at a black girl, I say, I have their mind. So I have the best of both worlds. So what's your problem? And that was it. That was it. When you confront a bully, you take away their power.
Correct. Yes.
That's the realization that I make. When you confront a bully, their power is gone, because they live for your fear.
Yes,
That's what gives them power. When you're afraid, it gives them power. And I guess word gets around that little white girl found a voice. So people sort of stay away from you. But the problem is I went to 6 different schools. So you have to stand up for yourself 6 different times.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So...
That's so powerful. And Palesa, you know what I take out of you confronting that bully is what I would like a lot of people to learn, that you can have the support system as you had from the teacher, from your parents, but at the end of the day, you have to stand for yourself inside yourself so that you can change your circumstance.
True.
And here's the other thing. I don't know, maybe you can tell us, in all the 6 schools, were you the only person with albinism? Because when I look at, I don't know if the research is right, but it says that in the black community, you've got 1 out of at least 4,000 people. Yeah. Person who is a person with albinism. And within the white community, you've got 1 out of 15,000. So that, as you have explained, seems to be a lonely place. But maybe just to confirm on what you said, out of all these schools, were you the only one?
Yes. In primary school and high school, I was always the only one.
Yeah. You know, I was, in my high school, there was a teacher that, taught, and he had albinism. But for some reason, I don't know at that point, because he was older, he wasn't in our school, he was teaching in primary, but we interacted with him so well. And the other thing is he had a sense of fashion, and, we always, gravitated towards him. Let me just test something before we move from we move forward. You mentioned that you have always had resilience.
Yes.
And you mentioned about you studying the support system. But what can you attribute that resilience to?
To being born different. Because you always have to prove yourself. People assume when you have albinism, there's something wrong with you. Some people think there's something wrong with your mind. Yeah. Some people, shame, what will she ever achieve? So that's where it came from, because I always wanted to show people that I'm more than what you see.
Yes.
I can achieve so much. I mean, if you go to the school that I went to, my name is on the wall, Achiever of the Year. I left the school having won the Soweto Anglo-American Communicators Awards in public speaking nationally. And I was due to go participate internationally, but I didn't have a passport, unfortunately. Yes. When you go to the Tshwane University of Technology, my name is there. I won a merit award there. If you go to the Association for Office Professionals of South Africa, I am the person that has raised the most sponsorships for their National Secretary's Day event to date. If you go to the Department of Economic Development, they'll have something positive to say about me and what I did for the cooperative space and assisting entrepreneurs access funding from funding and development institutions. When you go to Rob's Promotions, we won Promoter of the Year locally and internationally. Rob's Investment, I got the company ISO certified. So everywhere I go, I leave a mark.
Yes.
And it comes from the fact that people expected so little of me. And I had to show them what I can achieve. The resilience also comes from overcoming the discrimination, the bullying, the negative perceptions. That made me very resilient because you grow a thick skin. Like I said, you can't keep crying forever. And that teacher was right. Why would you cry when they call you what you are? I can't change the skin. I certainly can't. I also don't want to, by the way. So you accept yourself, and the self-love, self-acceptance builds resilience and then confidence.
So what would you say to a child or a parent who has got a child with albinism? Because one of the experiences that you have just explained, but besides the experiences, what I have also seen already is the amount of medical, and you'll put it into context for us if I'm not putting it right, the how you take care of your skin and all those things. It might be expensive for other people. Is there anything that you can share to those parents or even the kids as they face the challenges daily?
Okay, so we have to do it in two parts because you're asking about parents and kids. No?
Yes.
The lights are making me teary. So people mustn't think I'm here crying. So to the parents, love your kids. Accept them exactly as they are. I heard a very sad story about a parent who had a child with albinism, and she said the first thing the nurse said to her was, "I'm very sorry." So she thought that her child was dead. But the nurse was just sorry that she had a child with albinism. So even people that are educated can be very ignorant. So love your child from when they are still a baby. Show them so much love because that's what will build the confidence. Even when society rejects them, the love that they get from home will build them. Don't complicate the skin. I grew up, my grandmother Onantlapisa with just sunlight soap, and she would use Vaseline. No, not even sometimes the block when times are rough, but there's the normal one as well. Sunlight and Vaseline Blue Seal. That's it. And you can see my skin is pristine, darling.
Yes.
Wow. So that's all she used. And obviously when I went into the sunblock, but my grandmother did everything to keep me out of the sun. She'd put me in hats, long sleeve t-shirts. You don't have to do that. If you use sunblock and reapply it, because a lot of parents think you apply it once, it's done. The bottle says how often you should reapply, either every 45 minutes or every hour to maintain that protection from the sun. But don't complicate it. Parents are taking children to dermatologists, and the products that they get, they are so harsh for their skin, and that in itself damages the skin. The sunspots that we get are from long exposure to the sun. I don't know if there's another reason, but the main one is if you expose yourself to the sun long enough, your skin is going to deteriorate. Remember, we don't have melanin. Melanin is what you have. So when the sun burns you, you become darker. When the sun burns me, I become very red. So I shouldn't be burning myself in the sun.
Great.
To the kids, find a support system. Sometimes the home is not a good support system. Sometimes you'll find a support system in church. Sometimes you'll find a support system in a drama group. Sometimes you'll find a support system in friends. I hope it's there at home. But find a support system. Find people who love you, who appreciate you, who understand you. If I go to lunch with my friends, they already know we're not going to sit outside if there are no umbrellas. But some people get angry with that. They say, no, you're a problem. Now we can't enjoy the deck, the view. Now we have to sit inside. Those are not your people. It's not your choice. It's the skin you have. So why would you want me to damage my skin just for you to sit outside? So find a community that appreciates you. There's a lot of support systems online. There's the Albinism Society. There's a lot of groups. There's support groups on WhatsApp, on different social media platforms. Plug into one of those. Because once you have a good support system, you learn to accept yourself, you learn to love yourself, and your confidence grows. Yeah.
So one common thing between you and I is that I grew up in Kwakwa as well.
No way.
Yes, my father.
Where?
In Lifika.
Oh my gosh.
I'm a son of a reverend. So my father did theology at Lifika. I did my standard one. What do you call it? Yes,
grade 3.
Standard 1,
yeah.
grade 3 at the Totolo. Then I went to Kwakwa High, just behind Tia. So definitely know that it's cold, you know. And Kwakwa is very size. It's huge. It's huge, you know. But I think one of the challenges that we have is we move from those places, we come to Johannesburg as well, and then we explore and become the great that we become. But I'll come to that. I'll tell you why I'm mentioning that. How does a person occupy so many roles like you have mentioned? An actor, and then you were doing promotions, then you find yourself in the Free State Department, then you speak and all those things. Whereas some people cannot even venture to try to apply their gifts in one thing.
Sure. Like I said, it's the push was to show the world what I can do, you know. And then I have my family is a family of people that do things, you know. My aunt who raised me, who I consider to be a mother as well. She was the last born, and she ended up supporting her entire family as the last born, you know. My mom, she supports her entire family as well. She was the second born in her family on the salary of a professional nurse, and then also raising 4 girls. That can't be easy, right?
Correct.
My father, like I said, was a staunch academic, due to get his master's, and I'm sure he was going to go all the way to doctorate and beyond that. So to watch people that thrive on achievement, it sort of rubs off on you.
Yes.
My siblings as well, they're also go-getters, you know, and that pushed me to want to do more. But the reason I became a motivational speaker is I saw Dr. David Molapo in Matric.
Yes.
And he used to have this story that he would tell about what do you want to be written on your tombstone once you've left this earth. And he would say, I wouldn't want it to say David Molapo wazalwa wahlupha wafa.
Yeah.
So then I started thinking about my tombstone. What do I want to be written on it? And that fueled everything that I did. I needed something very positive, a positive contribution, because I believe that my purpose is to change lives.
Yes,
the reason I'm in wellness, because I help people find confidence from managing their weight. It's the reason I'm an entrepreneur, because I help people by providing them with a job that gives them an income to change their circumstances. It's the reason I'm a motivational speaker, because I stand up and I speak to people and I make them realize that you can do anything you put your mind to, that your challenges don't define you. In acting, I get to use the characters that I play to make a difference in people's lives. In modeling, I take on a character and it inspires people. So my purpose is to change lives, and everything that I do is geared towards that. So if you have such a strong purpose, you want to do more. That's what drives you to do more, so you can touch more people.
So somebody listening to you might say, this lady has been gifted and has been endowed with more than 24 hours, whereas of all of us, we've got 24 hours. Where does she get the time to do all of these things? Just walk us through your day.
Good time management.
Okay.
Good time management, good business partners. Because our business in the Free State, I've got 2 business partners who are my sisters, Refilo and Munki. I grew up with Munki, and Refilo came into the fold later on. But they are really incredible in that they have allowed me to come to Johannesburg and pursue my dream of being a performer, specifically being an actor, growing my speaking career, because I don't just do motivational speaking. I'm also a professional MC, and I also do facilitation. So I have great partners. And then the wellness business it just made sense because I'm in the gym an hour and a half to 2 hours a day anyway. So being fit is a priority to me. So when I started taking it very seriously and using a nutrition brand that I absolutely love and the results that I got from it, it became easy to now want to help other people with it. So how does my day go? The first 2 hours of the day after dropping off my daughter at school, I'm in the gym and I beast in the gym. So I'm not one of those, I'm not cute in the gym.
You go sweat. Wow.
So, and then once that is done, then I need to monitor the other organizations. I do marketing for our hospitality business in Harry Smith and also the cleaning business. So that requires me to be online quite a bit, various social media platforms and engaging with different stakeholders. And then luckily I work from home. So I get to have flexibility around my time. Right. And then I'm working on my keynote because when I do speaking, there's a specific talk that everybody loves, which is called The Best of Both Worlds, which is the one that tells my life story. But there are clients that want you to tailor a talk for them. So you really need to sit down and, curate a talk, put it together and do something that they instructed you to do. My keynote for this year is called Adapt or Die. It's my favorite keynote.
Wow.
Adapt or Die. I love it.
Wow.
And then, obviously, I also have to focus on myself. So I do a lot of personal development. I'm a motivational speaker, but I also need motivation, right? So I do at least 20 minutes of personal development. One of my favorite people to listen to is Jim Rohn. I also love TD Jakes. And, I don't know, lockdown has turned things so upside down. I might find myself going back to corporate. But another thing that I do is I also consult. There are businesses that require my services as and when needed. And I also assist aspiring entrepreneurs who need funding for their businesses. Which is something I'm very passionate about. I've assisted a lot of companies get funding. But all in a day's work, hey?
Yes.
All in a day's work.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Always.
That's what I'm getting out of what you're saying.
And then in between, there's also auditions for roles. There's go-sees for modeling. But you just have to have good time management. If you couldn't get it done today, you put it on tomorrow's to-do list. And hopefully tomorrow's to-do list is not too long. Because you need to ensure that whatever that is on your to-do list does not go totally out of that list because it has been shifted. Definitely.
So I get planning, but also borrowing. I think it's from the Chinese who say, if you want to go far, go with others. But if you just want to come closer, go it alone. And that's also some of the things that helps you in terms of managing your time. Now, out of these many hats, let me pick up one, acting. I was driving, going somewhere, and always I tune on my radio and I hear this voice coming saying to Bongani Bingo on 702 that, hey, if you had a dream, I think the discussion was, what is one of those dreams that you had and then you had to resuscitate? And I had this voice coming through saying, hey, I studied this and this, and then I left acting, but then I came back and, you mentioned, this voice mentioned a couple of things, and this voice said, I'm Palesa Mosiea from Albertine. And I said, wow, this is the lady that I'll be talking to very soon. So let's pick up on this acting career. Where did it start? What motivated you to be an actor?
Okay, so I've always been a very vibrant child growing up. So in grade 1, they did a play at school, and I was playing a child that was abandoned by her parents. And I just loved it. I loved how the audience reacted to it. I loved to watch people's emotions when I was on stage. I loved the attention. Always loved the attention. I think that's why God created me to stand out. I've always loved the attention. To a point that being the only person with albinism at school was actually the best thing. Once I had gotten over the challenges of having the condition. So at the end of the day, I started there in kindergarten. And when I got to TUT, I joined the drama society. And I lit up. I ended up becoming the deputy director of the drama society. And I won some awards in the drama society, to a point that when we performed, people thought that we were the drama students at TUT, whereas we were just a drama society doing it part-time. I remember doing a monologue at an event that we were performing at for ESCOM. And that monologue was about a child who had lost both their parents to AIDS. And I watched a grown man cry to a point where, you know, there was mucus coming out of his nose, and he
Yeah.
And everybody thought that that was my story. But it wasn't. It was a character that I took on. And I realized the power of acting. But then I also realized the very little money in it.
Yes,
So
yes.
I immediately went into corporate, you know.
Yes, yes.
But in 2017, I decided to move back to Joburg to pursue my dream. And in July of this year, my first movie is coming out. It's called Soweto Blaze. It will be on Netflix.
Yes.
But most importantly, in the same month, I auditioned to attend a conference called IPOP in Los Angeles. And my audition was successful. So I'm busy raising funds. I need to raise about 84,000 just for the conference. And then obviously there's about 20,000 for travel. And there's some training workshops that we need to do before we travel. So I need about 120,000 in total. And I'm still on a fundraising initiative. So if there's anyone that can assist in this fundraising initiative, it's on all my social media platforms. It's on Instagram, it's on Facebook, it's on LinkedIn. So, and on all my social media platforms, I'm Palesa Mosiea. Mosiea spelled Mosiea. So it's the Lesotho one.
Yes.
Not my fault. Home affairs.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm raising funds because I'll get to meet some of the top casting directors in the United States of America. And my dream is to be on a blockbuster movie, because I've never seen a person with albinism on a blockbuster movie. And one of the things that I'm very passionate about is I'm also an activist for inclusion.
Yes.
Because I believe for people to see us as the same, they need to see us do regular things and do them well. They need to see us also achieve great things. I was on a TV show with Tando Hopper. She's a model. She was the muse for Gert Johan Coetzee.
Yes.
And when the audience found out that she was an attorney by profession, somebody tweeted, "I didn't know that people like this can be lawyers." So the only way we change perception is if we rebrand albinism and show people that we can do anything that anyone else can do.
Correct.
Yeah. But in my case, I want to do it better.
Great. And it's going to happen.
It has to. LA has to happen. I mean, come on, South Africa. LA has to happen.
No, so, I really would like to appeal to everyone to support this cause. It is not only a Palesa cause. It's a cause that talks to the bigger goal out there. I mean, to give more hope to people born with albinism, to model that it is possible, but also to export our talent as a country out there. So definitely would appreciate whatever form of support that you can give to Palesa. But maybe let's unpack this acting thing. Now, there's this the Netflix Soweto Blaze that is coming. How did you learn the role? And what is the role about? Just in a nutshell, without taking the juice out of it.
Yeah. I auditioned just like everybody else. And you know what I appreciated? Sometimes you have agents that will send you to roles that they think are the roles for you. You know, roles that say we're looking for specifically for a person with albinism. But I like that my agent just sent me through. She's just like, go and try this out. Let's see what happens. The character is so different from me. Her name is Zaza. Zaza is hardcore. She's the complete opposite of who I am. First of all, Zaza has a very foul mouth. In my personal life, I don't swear. I believe you'd rather slap me than swear at me, but I don't condone violence either. So please don't slap me either. Let's have a discussion. But she is such hardcore. Yeah, she's a badass. And you know, when I did this movie, I had never handled a gun in my entire life. And then the armory guy comes and puts a gun in my hand. And I said, I've never used a gun. And he had to quickly train me, because sometimes they make an assumption that you're an actor, you must have done it.
Yes,
had to quickly train me, and I took to it like a pro. The first time I shot a gun was, I asked them, can I please shoot it once so that I can at least feel how it feels? Because I don't want to, do it on camera and then get the shock of my life. But I took to it so beautifully, and she's very athletic. I love that she's a powerful woman, she's a bodyguard to a kingpin in Soweto. So, she means business, and she's fierce, she's hardcore. And I went in for the audition, and I got a call back. I did the call back, and I was reading with one of the producers. And as we reading, I was reading something very intimidating. At some point, he also was like, hey, you scared me a little bit.
Wow. Wow.
So that was really great. And then I got it. When they called me, they said, you got Zaza. I was over the moon. And I'll always be thankful to the production company for seeing Zaza in me.
Yes.
For seeing me, Palesa, before they saw my condition. So they cast me because they saw Zaza. They didn't cast me because they were looking for a person with albinism to play Zaza. They cast me because I was the best person to play Zaza.
So will it be episodes or just...
No, it's a movie.
It's a movie.
I'm a movie star.
Okay.
Star.
The blockbuster is coming.
Yeah.
So how do you reconcile the Palesa, I don't want to say the real Palesa because you are Palesa, and Zaza because you're saying it's totally not you. That's one. Because I've seen that from the stories that we have read, social media is bound with these things nowadays, that people take these things to heart and now they interpret you as Zaza. And I know the movie has not come out as yet, but just where you are, when you go into the script, becoming the Zaza and going back, how do you reconcile those two roles in your life?
You know, what I love about acting is, and luckily when we were doing drama, my mentor and our director, she's theater trained. So she taught us theater, right? And you learn that you take on the character, you become the character, right? And you portray the character fully as if it was you. But once the character is done, you then take her off and you leave her behind. Fortunately for me, I've built such a strong social media presence and people know me so well that they will understand that this is not who I am, because people know who I am. But there'll be people that are introduced to me for the first time and they might assume that's who I am because of how well I take on the character. But the bottom line is we do live in a social media era. So once the movie comes out, we do all the media, the publicity, and people get to meet the character before they meet them on screen. I remember years ago, Pamela Nomvete was attacked by one of the fans of Generations. And the lady was a manager at Edgar's, and she hit her with her bag and said, "You're so mean." So we have that advantage now that social media gives you the opportunity to say, this is the character I'm playing. These are the similarities we have. This is where we differ. So yeah, I put her on and I take her off at the end of production. I have to say, this was the hardest character to kick off, especially the mouth. Remember I said she's very vulgar? Yeah, it was very hard to kick it off. I think after a few months, then she went completely out of my mouth. But she came home with me quite a bit.
And probably your child will understand. No, that's not my mom. Wow, that's great. So we will definitely looking forward to that. I'll really be looking for it to make sure that I follow and watch the movie. Now the IPOP.
Yes.
How did it come about?
So there's a company called DMH. They're an agency and they are affiliated with IPOP. So they are like a talent scout for IPOP. So the IPOP, the conference wants to have talent from all over the world. So they represent IPOP in South Africa. So every year they do auditions around the country looking for raw talent to take to IPOP to expose to the US market. And you have to literally go in and do your audition and hope for the best.
Yeah.
So I did my audition. I did a monologue about being a mother. The not so good side of it.
Yes.
A dramatic, humorous monologue. And once I did it, they gave me my golden ticket, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I was very excited because as an actor, you know, you go in for the audition, you get the role, and then they pay you.
Yeah.
But with this one, you audition to attend the conference, but you have to pay.
Oh,
So
yes.
the excitement sort of like fizzles when you realize 84,000, where am I going to get it?
Correct, yes.
But then I thought this is too big of an opportunity to let go of.
Correct,
and I said, Palesa, when you need it by optics, those are the glasses that I use for driving, the ones that are fitted with a telescope.
Yes.
I said, when you needed bioptics, you needed 45,000 and you raised it. So now you just need 84, you know.
Yes.
So I raised the money. So now I'm going to raise the money again. I raised the 45. That's how much it used to be back then. I hear they're cheaper now. Well, not cheaper, more reasonable.
Okay.
But I'll get there.
Definitely.
I'll get there.
Yes.
Total 120, I'll get there.
Like we said earlier, where there's a will, there's a way.
Always.
And there's always a good Samaritan out there. Definitely. I believe in putting things out into the universe and they will just converge. And LA, here we come in July.
Definitely. That's why the poster says Palesa hits LA, not Palesa wants to go to LA or Palesa hits LA because she's going to be there.
Yeah.
28 July, I'll be there.
So you get to LA. What then happens? You've got this talent scouts, talent agents. At this event, the conference, as you said, that's where they're going to identify talent.
Yeah.
So when things go well for you, what does that mean for Palesa's life going forward?
You start to work. You know, some of the talent that came from South Africa, there's a young boy who moved to LA and he started working with Disney.
Okay.
To a point that both his parents resigned and moved to LA. So he's basically supporting his family.
Wow.
Think about it.
Wow.
So yeah, but you don't have to move. You still come back to South Africa. But when there's projects, the good thing about the internet and technology, you can do self-tape. So you can record yourself, audition on a tape, and then you send through. That's how my first audition for Soweto Blaze was on. I used my phone because they just wanted tapes. They just wanted recordings. Then my second audition was a face-to-face. So you can audition here for a role in Los Angeles, and then you travel to go and perform. That's what, you know, John Kani is performing everywhere.
Yes.
So that's how it works. You can be based here in South Africa. But if you really feel like this is really taking off, you can pack your bags and make the move.
Yeah. So let's hope for that. I think every country prouds itself when it exports its talent out there for the difference that we can make in the world in the various areas. And I honestly believe that it's gonna be a positive outcome at the end of the day.
Yes.
Let's go to other roles of yours. Wellness is one of the, in my view, important pieces of the puzzle when it comes to the wheel of life. What are some of the challenges that your clients experience that you help them to overcome in this wellness space?
Self-confidence. That's the biggest one. Weight is a very sensitive issue, and it can really erode your self-confidence because you can't hide it. You know, it's not like you can pack away the body you don't like and go out with the body that you like. The most hard-hitting thing for me was speaking to a wife who said, I feel like my husband no longer finds me attractive. And then to go through the journey with her and to find herself in a good place again where she's happy in her marriage. There's a lot of stories. It's not just that one. It's just that's the one that's always stood out for me.
Yes.
You have a teenager that's being bullied at school. You said kids are mean. I know that. Kids are very mean. Being bullied at school because of their weight. And once you can help them combat that weight, their dreams that are shattered because people are not the right weight. I'm so glad that the aviation industry has changed their standard for flight attendants because you had to be a certain weight and you had to be a certain height. And now I see on a plane, everybody can qualify to be a flight attendant. But the world is not friendly to people that are overweight. But most importantly, I went into wellness because in order to achieve every goal that you have in your life, you actually have to be alive. You know that you have to be around.
Yes.
And if you don't use food as your medicine, you'll end up using medicine as your food.
Say that again?
If you don't use food as your medicine, you'll end up using medicine as your food.
Yeah.
So what you eat can change the whole trajectory of your health. Eating healthy, you don't even have to be on the products that I use. I use the products that I use because they're easy.
Yes.
You know, it's easier to make a shake than to make a proper breakfast that has everything that you need in a proper breakfast. A certain percentage of fiber, a certain percentage of protein. A shake has all of that, and it kickstarts my metabolism. And if your metabolism is working fast, you're burning fat, right? So I went into that space because I wanted to help people be confident again. Like I said, my calling is to change people's lives.
Yes.
Find their confidence, be happy with who they are, but most importantly, be healthy and live longer. It's very hard to be a parent and not be able to run with your kids, or not be able to do physical activities with your kids.
Correct, yes.
Even if you want to. You know, it's very hard to want to get up from the couch but struggle. You need someone to pull you up, or you have to use your hands to sort of push yourself up. But it's very hard to not be able to wear the clothes you want to wear or do the things that you want to do because you're limited by something you can change. Remember I said with my skin, I can't change it.
Yes.
But with weight, you can change it. My program can help you lose weight. It can help you gain weight. If you just want to reduce your belly, if you just want to be healthy, if you just want to get on a healthy breakfast, if that's all you want to do, I can help you do that. And my program helped me get my six-pack back after giving birth by C-section.
Yes.
When people always said my whole life, you're so lucky you've never had a baby. If you have a baby, this flat tummy is going to go away. It didn't go away. In fact, I booked my first swimwear campaign a year after giving birth, 2 years after giving birth. And then Tando Tebete booked me last year to do Taboodies, which is swimwear and lingerie, which is fantastic. I'm a mom and I'm in my late 30s. Can you believe that? Like, it's incredible. But at the end of the day, the thing about wellness is to improve people's confidence in their health.
Okay. So your main focus on wellness is on the weight part.
Weight management and skin.
And skin. Okay.
And then supplements as well. If people struggle with digestive issues like constipation and being bloated, if you're struggling with mental alertness and concentration, we've got supplements that can help with that. So fiber supplements, because sometimes we don't get enough fiber in our diet.
Yes.
So I do supplements as well that helps with various issues.
Okay. So what I like out of that, I see it not only as helping people regain their wellness, but as you said, it's about appreciating who they are, the self-image, the self-esteem, the self-confidence, because that makes a difference. I don't know how many people realize that confidence is an elixir to the type of life that you want. And we cannot allow things that we can control to stand in our way. If it's possible really for you to, it should be possible for you to go out and get assistance from the likes of Palesa to be able to make a difference in that space.
Yeah.
So you spoke about adapt or die. And I love that. I love that. And I had my own interpretation of what it might mean, but I don't want to do that. And at the same time, people should book you to hear what you say, but taking advantage that you are here. What is the common theme, or what is the main theme that you want people to understand out of adapting or dying?
Where do I send the invoice?
We'll talk after the show.
But you want me to talk now, but to talk about the invoice after the show? Okay. No, it's fine. I'm kidding. So adapt or die, it's basically me showing people through various illustrations, especially using companies that have existed and are no more. I'll make an example of one. There's a company that was called Polaroid. It still exists. They made those cameras that print your picture immediately.
Yes.
Magic, right? It's like magic.
Yeah.
And one of their engineers developed a digital camera, and they said, no, you're going to ruin our business of the instant pictures. And as a result of that, the only thing we remember about Polaroid now is that they inspired the logo for Instagram, Where are they? Yes, I mean, if you're in Durban on the beachfront, you'll have one of those guys with a Polaroid camera that will ask you, can I take a picture of you, and print it immediately. But they used to own the market. And now they don't even have a fraction. Now they call them a niche. A niche market. And that company completely died because they wouldn't adapt. And I find that in our lives as well. Sometimes we're too comfortable in our comfort zone. And we don't want to adapt to the changes of the world. Imagine if lockdown happened and companies said, we refuse to do Zoom. Where would they be? Correct. How would they communicate? Imagine if we refused to get on a plane and said, what if we die? How would we travel the world? How would we connect? So it's just an illustration of how important it is to adapt to the ever-changing world if you want to succeed. It's geared towards organizations, but it's also important for individuals as well. And it also introduces the concept of agility.
Okay. So in your coaching space, in whatever walks of life that you have taken, what do you think is the main reason why people rather choose to die than to adapt? If you agree with my assertion.
Fear. They're afraid. People would rather live the life that they're living than try something new because they're afraid of failure. They're afraid, what if it doesn't work? How will I look? How will people perceive me? That's the biggest thing. Fear is debilitating and it's immobilizing. And until you get over the fear of the unknown, or what will people say, or maybe it's about ring syndrome.
Yes.
If you don't get over that, you'll always live, you'll die. You'll live, but you'll be dead.
Yes.
Because there's walking corpses among us. Like they are there. People that have completely given up, that don't want to try anything, that don't want to rock the boat. So they'd much rather exist. Just exist.
But it's so sad because, if not mistaken, I think it was Les Brown who had said that some people, they die at 15 only to be buried at 80. So that's a sad part because I'm not good in math, but the difference between 80 and 15 means that you're losing what? Almost 65%, 65 years of your life because you cannot challenge your fears. So how do you assess that this work that you are doing, speaking, because that what you have just said now in this short space of time, for me, I think it's a great takeaway of how I would like to look at my life so that I don't die, but always adapt with the changes. But then when you look at your coaching, you're looking at the speaking work that you do, what is your sense of assessing the impact it does on others? Do you have a sense of how it changes people's lives?
I do. I get so many messages from people, even when I just do a live. In fact, people have been asking me to come back again, to do lives and short videos. But it's the feedback that you get. With conferences, what I love is there's always audience feedback, and I always ask for it. I'm one of those speakers who care what the audience thought, because I believe that criticism is also constructive and it helps us to grow and be better. So when I'm doing events and conferences, I always get the audience feedback. I always get the ratings. I always get the comments and the criticism as well. In the wellness business, the good thing about it is you see it. As you work with a client, you see the difference. I have a client who dropped 16.8 kilograms in just over 2 months in my last challenge. And he's so happy, and the gratitude that he shows, and the difference that I see on his body, the difference in the way he walks, the confidence, it just makes me feel so good.
I'm so glad that there are people that are getting so much benefit out of what you are doing. And as we get closer to ending the conversation, I would just like to go back to Kwakwa, because I said I'll come back to it. In terms of size, Kwakwa is huge. is quite huge. But for some reason, it's still in some quarters regarding as a bit rural and stuff.
Yeah.
As a person that comes from a place like Kwakwa, and let's say by extension Free State, we go and then you've got this opportunity to go into the big world. What would you say to somebody who thinks that their background and where they come from is a hindrance to their lives, so that they remove all these chains that are holding them back?
I would challenge them to look at it as the fuel that will light the fire, because there's nothing better than the story of a person that achieved coming from the back foot. My story is so powerful because of all the adversity that I've faced.
Yes.
A powerful story is a story of triumph. If you were to look at two stories and one was just the story of a person carrying on with their lives, doing well here and there, it's fine. You watch that story. But if you had to choose between that story and a story of triumph over adversity, the story of triumph over adversity wins every time. You'll have a more powerful story to tell. You make a bigger impact. But most importantly, the pride that you'll have in the end.
Yes.
After overcoming everything that you have to overcome to achieve what you want to achieve. There's nothing like it. There's absolutely nothing like it. And I mean it when I say it is our choices, not our circumstances, that determine our outcome. So look for people that have come from where you come from. Look what they've achieved. Look what they've done. Be inspired by that. Don't look at people that have achieved greatness from you don't know where they come from or how they did it. I was listening to what's his real name? Tsepo, the guy that used to play Parsons on Isidingo.
Yes.
It's Tsepo, ne?
Yes, but
he was saying that the mistake that we make is sometimes we look at international celebrities and we try to build our lives on them. And that's the problem. We need to cultivate a culture of teaching our children to focus on the people that are around them, because they're relatable. And if you can relate to someone and this person used to live right here, Nanegidula Riverside, we grew up in a 4-bedroom house. I think there were 6 or 7 of us in the house. A 4-room house. So that's a kitchen, a dining room, and 2 bedrooms. Correct. I want to be clear. So there was like 6, 7 people in the house. But look at what I've managed to achieve. And besides growing up in Kwakwa, I then had albinism. And I also had a visual impediment, which I still have. So when you look at me, that should inspire you. That should inspire you. So find people that will inspire you.
Correct. So, you have already gotten into that space, but I don't want to deny you that opportunity of how we always close the show. But by the way, before we close the show, quickly, you mentioned you have worked with some boxers. I love boxing.
Really?
I love boxing. But here's the thing. I love watching boxing. Let's just be clear. Not to be in the ring.
I can see this face. No.
But there are a lot of guys. Next weekend we'll be watching The Tank with Ryan Garcia. And one of the things that they tease with him, they say, you're just a pretty face. But I guess he's going to lose against The Tank. The Tank is my man. I really, really love that space. And some of the boxers that you worked with at the time?
Bongani Mwelasi.
Oh, yes.
He was called Cyclones.
Yes, Cyclones.
The young Muhammad Ali. That's what they used to call him, because he was very arrogant. And he was a knockout specialist.
Correct.
They used to call him the young Muhammad Ali. He won Prospect of the Year. He had the WBC belt, which is the biggest in the world. Then I also worked with the late Mlungisi Dlamini. They used to call him the Shark. William Khari, who was, when we started working with him, he was in his 30s, and everybody said he was a dead horse. But man, he got that WBF belt, the World Championship. And Chifiwa Monyai. When I think of all these boxers and the talent that they have, and how much the country does not invest enough in them. I mean, when we came into the industry, we took all our boxers and we said, we're going to pay you a monthly salary so that you can do your job, which is boxing. Because a lot of boxers are working somewhere else and then come with their boxing, which compromises them. Then we hired a trainer for them because a trainer would take 10% of their income. So we paid the trainer and I managed all of them. The ones that agreed, but some of them wanted to stay with their previous managers, so they still lost about 15% of their income. But we did a revolutionary approach to boxing. And for the first time, when we were in boxing, an SA championship title bout was that the boxer would be paid 12 to 13,000. And that's a big fight. That's 12 rounds. You know, you could lose your life in the ring. Let's be clear about that. So we went from 12 to 13 to 100,000. So by the time we left, the industry had caught up because they realized that they couldn't continue treating boxers the way they were. So we came with a revolutionary approach and we made a huge impact in the boxing industry. Very proud of that part of my life. Extremely.
No, that's great. That's great. One of my former schoolmates, Mulifi Fenger, unfortunately, he got so badly injured in the ring. He no longer box, but but you know, and it's great that your company then took that step. I mean, when we look at other countries, the people are making a living
from
out of boxing, and their lives change so hugely, so hugely. So Palesa, like I said, I don't want to deny that opportunity, but we always end by saying, out of all these life experiences that you have just shared with us, what would be that life 101? And when I say life 101, it's as basic as it is, so that we don't complicate things. What is that life 101 lesson that you have learned that you would like to share with that young boy, young girl, an adult in their lives? Because the life is tough out there, you know.
If I'm possible, what is impossible? For me to sit before you today, it took one sperm out of thousands to fertilize an egg inside a human being and create life. Then 9 months later, I was born. If you didn't know the process of human reproduction, would that not seem impossible? Therefore, I ask you, if I'm possible, what is impossible? And then I implore you to look at that word impossible differently. I need you to take the I and the M, create a space between them and put an apostrophe. Then separate the M and the P. Then you have impossible. Because our life is what we see it as. And if you see impossible, that's what you'll live. But if you see I'm possible, that's what you'll live.
Wow, that is dreams made possible, isn't it? Life, as we always say, is never a straight line between 2 points. There will always be adversaries that we have to face in our lives. There will always be mountains that we have to climb. But as Sir Hilary said, we are the most highest mountain that we have to climb. We are the most highest mountain that we have to conquer. And Palesa's story is a testament to that irrespective of how she was born, she was not her experience. She is just the experience. She has just experienced certain adversaries for her to be where she is today. There is still a lot that she's going to achieve in this life. And it is possible for you to achieve the same or even more. Until the next episode, thank you so much.